Donald Trump secured a resounding win in the first 2024 Republican presidential contest in Iowa on Monday, asserting his command over the party despite facing many criminal charges as he seeks an election rematch with President Joe Biden. Now, Trump took over half the votes, propelling him towards what looks set to be a close and bitter election campaign against Biden, a Democrat, in November. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis finished well behind Trump in second place in Iowa, edging out the former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Americans head to polls later this year in what is expected to be a closely watched presidential election. Let me go across to Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, and also Namrata Brar, who's been tracking this for us. So, Namrata, this unusual caucus at Iowa and primaries do play an outsized role in U.S. elections. Tell us, what does Trump's dominant lead over others signify, and does this strengthen his case that his nomination now seems to be a foregone conclusion?
Yes, I think the core message that is coming out from these results that we witnessed here last night is that no one can out-Trump Trump. And I think that is very important to understand, because Vivek Ramaswamy was playing the Trump card and in fact amplifying it, because he was doing it with an Ivy League education, but he failed to outperform or out-Trump Trump. Now, this is the kind of complex Republican primary field that we are in, where you have Donald Trump, whose appeal seems unabated despite the 90 felony counts against him, multiple indictment cases which have come in the last several months against him, which have only, it seems, given more ammunition to his followers to portray him as the wronged one or some kind of a martyr. So we saw a very strong surge of support coming through, and you could see that DeSantis and Haley, Nikki Haley, both trailed by a considerable margin to Donald Trump. Now, his supporters and his team had actually predicted a lesser range of victory for last night, but we see this only amplifying now with even Vivek Ramaswamy's team moving into the Donald Trump camp.
Right. Mr. Vickery, let's talk about Nikki Haley. She is the lone woman in the race on either side of the political spectrum, and she has often said that she is the only Republican candidate who can take on both Trump and Mr. Biden. What does this coming third in this Iowa caucuses mean for her?
Well, thanks very much for having me. I think it's bad news for Nikki Haley. She has staked out a position, particularly in international matters, which is different from Donald Trump. But it is plain that that's not selling among the people who control the Republican Party, and those are the MAGA Republicans, the Trump people. So she'll have another chance in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a much more moderate state than Iowa, and there is some hope that she will be able to maintain the candidacy there. But right now, this is bad news, and it's great news for Trump, because both DeSantis and Haley came in about even, which means they'll both stay in, and they'll both split the opposition to Trump.
Right. Namrata, Vivek Ramaswamy, has dropped out of this 2024 presidential race, and he has also endorsed Trump, like you were saying. Did you see this coming, or do you think that his campaign deflated because, he also came under severe attack from both rivals and critics?
Well, I think Vivek Ramaswamy is an interesting story, because he's actually Trump in a more sort of articulate way. But on the other hand, he is brown. He's an Indian American. He's a self-made billionaire. He's got an appeal in the younger population. He's aggressively used platforms like TikTok to reach out to the younger generations, big on the college campuses. So it's an interesting mix. I do not think that everyone expected him to take this election and be the sort of, stand-in for Donald Trump himself. But he played the Donald Trump MAGA platform, in fact, even to a greater extent than many would argue Donald Trump himself. He's talked about cutting Federal Reserve by 90%. He's talked about cutting the government by 80%. He's also given a lot of attention to the fringe theories and, the fact that January 6th was an inside job. So all that really plays to Trump's base. And now coming in and endorsing Trump means that in all likelihood, he'll get a position in the Trump administration if it so comes to place.
Last year was a significant year for India-US relations because we did see the Prime Minister on a state visit. We also saw G20 presidency and signing of very important deals. So in case, Trump 2.0, what would that mean for India or Indian Americans or for that matter, India's foreign policy?
Well, I think that it's has to be remembered that in the United States, both in the Republican and Democratic Party, you have very strong bipartisan support for the U.S.-India relations. That's the good news. That's not going to change because the support is widespread in the Congress and across the board. The bad news is, though, that Trump is a transactional person. He believes in quid pro quo. Unlike the Biden administration, which has been all in on a Democratic partner in India, Trump doesn't see the world that way. I doubt that he even knows where the Maldives are and how important that is. So if you're looking to a U.S.-India relationship, which is going to go to the next level of building world peace and fighting poverty around the world with Trump, that's kind of a non-starter.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Thank you, Namrata, for joining us on this debate.